My daughter's voice cut through the air like a knife. All you do is take. You've never given this family anything. I stood there in my own living room, the room I'd paid for, in the house I'd been covering the mortgage on for 15 years, and felt something inside me break. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet snap, like a thread that had been pulled too tight for too long. Destiny stood in front of me, her face twisted in anger, pointing her finger like I was some stranger who'd wronged her. My baby girl, my firstborn, 28 years old, and looking at me like I was garbage. If you had any pride left, she continued, her voice dripping with contempt, you'd leave. Just go. Nobody wants you here anyway. Behind her, my son Marcus looked at his phone, didn't even look up. My husband Jerome sat on the couch, arms crossed, nodding along like Destiny was preaching the gospel truth. I opened my mouth to speak, but Destiny cut me off. Don't even try to defend yourself, Mama. We're all tired of it. Tired of you playing the victim. Tired of you acting like you do so much when really you're just here. That's when I realized something. I could argue. I could list everything I'd done, everything I'd paid for, every sacrifice I'd made. Or I could just leave. So I did the second thing. I walked past Destiny without a word, went to my bedroom, and started packing a bag. My hands moved on autopilot, underwear, a few shirts, pants, my toiletries. I heard footsteps behind me. Where you going? Jerome asked, standing in the doorway like he actually cared. Out, I said simply. Don't be dramatic, Shanice. Destiny didn't mean. I turned to look at him. Really look at him. This man I'd been married to for 30 years. Did you defend me out there? He shifted uncomfortably. It's not about defending, it's about understanding where she's coming from. I see. I zipped up my bag. Tell me, Jerome, where is she coming from? He sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. She's stressed. The wedding planning is expensive and she thinks I don't contribute to this family. That's not what she meant. That's exactly what she meant. I walked past him with my bag. And you agreed with her. Before we continue, please tell us where you're watching from so we know how far our stories reach, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. I drove to a Motel 6 off Highway 85. Not fancy, but clean. Paid for a week in cash. My own cash. From my own bank account that I'd had since before I married Jerome. The account I'd kept just for me, the one with my emergency money. Sitting on the polyester bedspread, I let myself really think about what had just happened. My daughter had told me I never gave the family anything. My daughter, the one whose entire college tuition I'd paid, $7,000 over 4 years. The one whose car I'd bought when she graduated. The one whose wedding I'd been quietly funding for the past 6 months. My son Marcus, who I'd put through trade school, who lived rent-free in our finished basement, whose student loans I'd paid off last year, all 33,000 of them. My husband Jerome, who'd been between jobs for 3 years, who drove the Mercedes I made the payments on, who played golf 3 times a week at the country club where I paid the membership. My phone buzzed, a text from Jerome. When are you coming home? This is childish. I turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I went to the motel's front desk and extended my stay for a month. Then I made a list. See, here's what nobody in my family knew. I was the one holding everything together, not just emotionally, financially. I was the accountant at Morrison & Associates, had been for 23 years. I made good money, real good money, while Jerome had hopped from job to job, taking career breaks and finding himself. I'd been the steady paycheck, and I'd been generous, too generous maybe. I pulled out my laptop and opened my banking app. Started going through my automated payments. Marcus's car insurance, $340 month. Destiny's credit card, wedding expenses, $1,200 month minimum payment. Jerome's country club membership, $450 month. Destiny's apartment. Rent, $1,850 a month. Marcus's phone bill, $95 a month. Destiny's grad school tuition, $2,100 a month. Jerome's car payment, $809 a month. The family house mortgage, $2,400 a month. House utilities. Under my name, $380 a month average. Jerome's health insurance, $320 a month. I sat back and stared at the numbers. Over $10,000 a month going out to support people who thought I never gave this family anything. I started canceling automatic payments. Not all at once, I'm not cruel, but I set them to end by the end of the month. Every single one. Then I called my bank and opened a new checking account. I had my paychecks rerouted starting immediately. The old account would handle the existing obligations until month's end. Then it would sit empty. My phone, the one I'd turned back on, started ringing. Jerome. I declined the call. He called again. Declined. A text. Shanice, stop being petty. Come home so we can talk like adults. Like adults, the irony wasn't lost on me. I spent the first week in that motel room doing something I hadn't done in years. Thinking about what I wanted, not what my family needed, not what would keep the peace. What I wanted peace, real peace, not the fake kind you get from avoiding conflict. I wanted to wake up without immediately calculating bills in my head. I wanted to eat dinner without hearing about someone's new expense I'd need to cover. I wanted to exist without being invisible. By week 2, my phone was blowing up, not with apologies. No, then that would have been too simple. With demands. Marcus. Mom, my car insurance lapsed. Can you fix it? Destiny. My rent check bounced. What's going on? Jerome. The mortgage company called. We're late. This isn't funny anymore. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I found an apartment. A nice one-bedroom in a quiet complex on the other side of town. The lady showing it to me, Miss Patricia, was a sweet older black woman with salt and pepper locks. You running from something or towards something? She asked me directly as we stood in the empty living room. Both, I answered honestly. She smiled. Good. The running towards something folks make the best tenants. When can you move in? Today. I signed a 1-year lease right there, used my emergency savings for first month, last month, and deposit. It hurt my savings account. But it felt like freedom. The apartment was smaller than the house, way smaller, but it was mine. I bought a bed, a couch, a TV, basic stuff. It felt like starting over at 58, and I was surprised to find I didn't hate it. Week 3, the calls got desperate. Jerome showed up at my job. My boss, Mr. Morrison, a serious brother who didn't play games, took one look at Jerome trying to corner me in the parking lot and walked right over. This man bothering you, Shanice? Jerome puffed up. I'm her husband. That's not what I asked. Mr. Morrison stood between us. Shanice? He's leaving, I said firmly. Jerome's face went red. Baby, please, just come home. We can work this out. Define work this out, I said. We can talk, like adults. Come to counseling with me. Did Destiny apologize? He hesitated. She's struggling with a lot right now. The wedding, grad school. Did she apologize? Not yet, but then there's nothing to work out. I walked toward my car. Jerome tried to follow, but Mr. Morrison blocked him. She said she's done, brother. Best respect that. I drove away without looking back. That night, my sister-in-law, Keisha, called. Jerome's sister. We'd always been close, or so I thought. Shanice, girl, what is going on? She sounded stressed. Jerome said you left over some little argument. Is that what he told you? He said Destiny got emotional about wedding planning, and you just walked out. I laughed. Actually, laughed. Keisha, your niece told me I've never given the family anything, and that I should leave if I had any pride, so I did. Silence on the other end. She didn't mean, yes, she did. And Jerome agreed with her, and Marcus didn't say a word, so I left, and I'm not coming back. But, Shanice, you can't just abandon your family over hurt feelings. Watch me. What about Destiny's tuition, and Marcus, and the house? What about them? More silence, then. You're being selfish. I hung up. Week 4 arrived, and that's when the real panic started. Destiny called. I answered this time. Mom. Her voice was tight. My tuition payment bounced. I checked, and the check you normally send didn't come. Did you forget? No. So, can you send it? It's due tomorrow, or I get dropped from my classes. No. What do you mean, no? I mean no, Destiny. I won't be sending it. But you always, Mom, I'll get kicked out of grad school. You told me I never gave this family anything, so I'm simply honoring your observation. I'm no longer giving anything. That's not what I didn't mean the money. I meant emotional support, and you meant I was useless, a burden, taking up space in a home I paid for. So I removed myself. And my money. I hope you understand. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I was stressed and I took it out on the one person who's always been there for you. Yes, I know. Goodbye, Destiny. I hung up while she was still pleading. The thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. There's a difference. Marcus texted, Mom, this isn't cool. Destiny is freaking out, and Dad says you won't answer his calls. Can we just talk? I typed back, I'm happy to talk when your sister apologizes, a real apology, and when your father figures out what he wants to apologize for. Until then, I'm living my life. But what about my car insurance? You're 25. Marcus, figure it out. He didn't respond after that. Jerome started emailing me since I wasn't answering calls. Long emails about how I was tearing the family apart, how marriage was about forgiveness, how I was punishing everyone for Destiny's mistakes. Not once did he say, I'm sorry. Not once did he ask, what did I do wrong? It was all about what I needed to do to fix the family I'd apparently broken by having the audacity to leave when told I was worthless. The month marker hit on a Tuesday. I was in my apartment, which I'd slowly been furnishing with things I actually liked. Colorful throw pillows, African art prints, plants everywhere. when Keisha called again. This time, she was crying. "Shanice, please," she sobbed. "Why did the tuition payments stop? Destiny had to withdraw from her classes." She lost her scholarship eligibility. She's devastated. I took a breath. "Keisha, your niece told me I never gave this family anything, so I stopped giving. It's really that simple." "But you're destroying her future." "No, I'm not. She's an adult. She can take out loans like millions of other students. She can work. She can ask her father, you know, the man who agreed I contribute nothing." "Jerome can't. He doesn't have—" "Exactly. You're being cruel." "I'm being consistent. I was told I give nothing, so now I give nothing. I'm simply agreeing with their assessment of me. Her wedding will happen or won't happen. Not my concern. Marcus's car, he can get his own insurance. The house, Jerome's name is on that deed too. He can figure it out." Keisha's voice turned sharp. "So you're just going to let them all suffer? After 30 years of family?" "Keisha, I spent 30 years giving everything I had. My time, my money, my energy, my peace. And I was told it was nothing. So yes, I'm letting them learn what nothing actually looks like." "I can't believe you're being this selfish." And that's when I realized they would never see it, never understand that I hadn't abandoned them. They'd abandoned me first. They'd just expected me to stay anyway, to keep giving anyway, to keep being invisible anyway. "I have to go," I said calmly. "Wait, Shanice." I hung up and blocked her number. Then I did something I hadn't done in 30 years. I poured myself a glass of wine, put on some Anita Baker, and danced in my living room. Alone, free, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt like myself. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The family group chat I'd been muted in for months was going crazy. I opened it just to see. "Marcus, Mom's being selfish. She won't help with anything. Destiny, I had to drop out of school because of her. My whole future is ruined. Jerome, your mother has decided to abandon this family. I'm looking into legal options. Keisha, I tried talking to her. She's changed. This isn't the Shanice we know. My mother-in-law, Beverly, who I'd been financially supporting with a monthly check for 5 years. Ungrateful, after everything we did for her." I read through it all with a strange sense of detachment. These were my people, my family, and not one of them had said, "Maybe we were wrong." Not one had said, "Maybe we should apologize." Not one had asked, "Why did she leave?" It was all about what I'd done to them. I left the group chat and blocked those numbers too. My coworker Tamika knocked on my office door that afternoon. "Girl, you good? You seem different lately." "I'm better than good," I told her honestly. "I'm free." She raised an eyebrow. "Free from what?" So I told her everything. The confrontation, the leaving, the discovery of what I'd really been contributing, the canceling of payments, the calls, the guilt trips, all of it. When I finished, Tamika sat back in her chair and whispered, "Damn. Yeah." "And nobody's apologized?" "Not one person." "Shanice Amis, I'm gonna be real with you. Don't you dare go back. Whatever happens next, don't you go back to people who can't see your value." I smiled. I'm not planning to. But I had no idea what was coming next. None of us did. Because the thing about removing the foundation that's holding everything up, eventually everything comes crashing down. and my family's collapse was about to be spectacular. 2 months after I left, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Mrs. Shanice Coleman? A professional woman's voice. Yes, this is Linda Martinez from Crestview Property Management. I'm calling regarding 4782 Maple Grove Drive. We've attempted to contact your husband, Jerome Coleman, multiple times about the mortgage being 60 days past due. Are you aware of this situation? My stomach dropped, not from fear, but from vindication. I'm aware the mortgage would be due, yes, but I don't live there anymore. Ma'am, your name is on the deed and the loan. If payment isn't received within 30 days, we'll have no choice but to begin foreclosure proceedings. I understand. Thank you for letting me know. I hung up. The house I'd been paying for 15 years was about to go into foreclosure because Jerome apparently thought I'd just come back and save it, that I'd cave, that I'd feel guilty enough to rescue them all. I sat at my little kitchen table in my peaceful apartment and felt nothing, no guilt, no panic, no urge to fix it. I called a lawyer instead. Attorney Michelle Brooks had been recommended by Tamika, a sharp sister with locks down to her waist and a reputation for not taking any mess. Her office was in a Black-owned building downtown, decorated with African art and family photos. Tell me everything, she said, pulling out a legal pad. I did, all of it. She took notes, asked questions, and didn't interrupt. When I finished, she sat back and shook her head. Shanice, I'm going to be straight with you. You're more generous than most people would have been, but we need to protect you legally before this gets uglier. Uglier how? Your husband could try to claim you abandoned the marriage, could go after your retirement, your savings, could try to force you to continue paying the mortgage since you're on the deed. We need to file for legal separation immediately, and we need to document everything you've paid for over the years. My heart raced. Legal separation? Unless you want to go straight to divorce? Michelle raised an eyebrow. Has he apologized? Made any real effort to fix things? No, just demands that I come back and threats about legal action. Then yes, we start the paperwork. And Shanice? She leaned forward. Stop feeling guilty. What you're doing isn't cruel. It's called having boundaries. I hired her that day. The paperwork was filed by the end of the week. Jerome was served at the house. He called me screaming. I'd unblocked him temporarily just to see his reaction. Legal separation? Are you insane? Over one argument? One argument where your daughter told me I was worthless and you agreed. I never said you were worthless. You didn't disagree either, Jerome. You sat there nodding while she tore me apart. Then you had the nerve to tell me to understand where she was coming from. Because I was trying to keep the peace. By sacrificing me. Yeah, I noticed. Sign the papers, Jerome. I'm not signing anything. You're my wife. Then enjoy the legal bills. Michelle doesn't come cheap. I hung up. 3 days later, Destiny showed up at my apartment. I have no idea how she got my address. Probably sweet-talked someone at my job. She knocked on my door at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. I looked through the peephole and sighed, opened the door but didn't invite her in. Mama? She looked terrible, hair undone, dark circles under her eyes, wearing sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. Please, can we talk? We're talking. Can I come in? No. Her face crumpled. Mom, I'm sorry, okay? I'm so sorry. I was stressed about the wedding and school, and I took it out on you, and it was wrong. I was so wrong. Please forgive me. I studied her. She looked sincere. But I'd learned something in these past 2 months. Sorry means nothing without change. What exactly are you sorry for, Destiny? For yelling at you. For saying those awful things. And, she looked confused. And, for hurting your feelings. Do you understand why what you said was wrong, beyond just hurting my feelings? She shifted uncomfortably. Because it wasn't true? Go on. Because you've helped us a lot financially? Helped, baby. I've been carrying this entire family for years. Your college, your car, your apartment, your credit cards, your grad school, Marcus's trade school, his loans, his car insurance, your father's lifestyle, the house, everything. And you told me I never gave the family anything. Destiny's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know all of that. Dad never said. Did you ask? Did any of you ever ask where the money came from? Or did you all just assume it appeared magically? She started crying for real now. Mama, I'm getting married in 4 months. Brandon's parents are asking questions about why my family can't contribute anything. I had to drop out of school. I had to cancel the venue because we can't make the deposit payments. My entire life is falling apart. And you thought coming here crying would make me fix it? I thought if I apologized, you thought wrong. My voice was calm, steady. Destiny, you're 28 years old. You're about to be somebody's wife. It's time you learned that apologies without action mean nothing, that you can't treat people like garbage and expect them to keep serving you. So you're just going to let my wedding get ruined? Let me lose everything? I'm going to let you grow up. You want a wedding? Get a job? You want to finish school? Take out loans like everyone else. You want your mother back in your life? Show me you've actually changed, not just that you miss my money. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, baby. I learned that when I worked double shifts to pay for your braces while your father was finding himself. When I missed my own mother's funeral because I couldn't afford the time off after paying your college tuition. When I sacrificed everything for you and your brother and got called worthless for my trouble. Destiny stood there, mouth open, tears streaming down her face. Go home, I said quietly. When you're ready to have a real conversation about real change, call me. But don't come back here asking me to save you from consequences you created. I closed the door and I cried because she was still my baby and watching her hurt still hurt me. But I didn't open that door again. The next week, Marcus showed up at my job during lunch. Mr. Morrison wasn't having it. Young man, your mother is on her lunch break. If she wants to talk to you, she'll meet you in the lobby. You're not going to ambush her in the parking lot. Marcus looked embarrassed. I just need 5 minutes. Mr. Morrison looked at me. I nodded. We went to the lobby. Mom, this is crazy, Marcus started. The house is going into foreclosure. Dad can't afford anything. Destiny's wedding is canceled. Grandma Beverly is calling me crying because you stopped sending her checks. Stop. I held up my hand. Marcus, do you know why I left? He had the decency to look ashamed. Because of what Destiny said. And what did you do when your sister said those things to me? Silence. You looked at your phone. Your sister told me I was worthless and should leave. and you couldn't even be bothered to look up from your phone. I didn't think she was serious. I thought you two were just arguing like always. Like always? That stung. So I'm regularly disrespected in that house, and you all just consider it normal? That's not— Mom, I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it, Marcus? He ran his hand over his face. Look, I'm sorry I didn't defend you. You're right. That was messed up. But you're punishing all of us for what Destiny said. No, I'm holding all of you accountable for how you treated me. You didn't defend me. Your father agreed with her. Nobody in that house valued me except for what I could provide, so I stopped providing. But we need you. You need my money. There's a difference. That's not true. Really? When's the last time you called me just to talk? When's the last time you asked how I was doing? When's the last time you treated me like a person instead of an ATM? Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. He couldn't answer because we both knew the truth. I love you, son, but I'm done being used. When you're ready to have a real relationship with me, one that doesn't involve asking for money, you know where to find me. I walked away, leaving him standing in the lobby. Mr. Morrison caught up with me at my desk. You okay? I'm tired, I admitted. I bet. Listen, Shanice, I don't usually get in people's business, but I'm proud of you. What you're doing takes courage. Most people would have gone back by now. Some days I want to, but you don't. That's what matters. He paused. My wife and I are having some folks over for dinner this Sunday. Black professionals, good people. You should come, meet some new faces. I hesitated. I don't know if I'm ready for— It's just dinner, Shanice, musto. No pressure. But isolation isn't good for anybody. Think about it. I thought about it, and on Sunday I showed up. Mr. Morrison and his wife Vanessa had a beautiful home in a nice neighborhood. The dinner was elegant but comfortable. Good food, good music, good conversation. There were about 10 people there, all black professionals around my age or a bit younger. I met Lorraine, a real estate agent who'd been divorced for 5 years and was living her best life. I met Pastor James from a local church who was funny and kind and nothing like the judgmental preachers I'd grown up with. I met Denise, a therapist who specialized in family trauma, and her husband Robert, who owned a construction company. For the first time in months, I wasn't Shanice the wife, or Shanice the mother, or Shanice the provider. I was just Shanice. And people actually wanted to hear what I had to say. Vanessa cornered me in the kitchen while I was helping with dessert. Girl, I heard a little about your situation from my husband. How you holding up? Some days better than others. I bet. Family can be the hardest thing to walk away from, even when they're toxic. Was your family toxic? She laughed. Honey, I didn't speak to my sister for 3 years because she kept borrowing money and never paying it back, then got mad when I said no. Some people only love what you can do for them, not who you are. That's exactly how I feel. Then you're doing the right thing. It's going to get worse before it gets better, though. They're going to escalate, try different tactics. Be ready for that. She was right. The following week, Beverly, Jerome's mother, showed up at my church. My church, the one I'd been attending quietly by myself for the past month, trying to find some peace. She waited until service was over and intercepted me in the parking lot. Shanice Marie Coleman, you should be ashamed of yourself. I stopped walking. Good morning, Beverly. Don't you good morning me. What you're doing to this family is evil. Evil. Those are your children. Those are adults who told me I was worthless. Destiny apologized. Destiny asked for money with sorry sprinkled on top. That's not an apology. Beverly's face turned red. I raised you better than this. After I welcomed you into this family, stop right there. My voice was steel. You didn't raise me, Beverly. My mother raised me. And you welcomed me into this family by constantly criticizing everything I did for 30 years. How I cooked, how I cleaned, how I raised my kids, how I styled my hair. Nothing was ever good enough for you. I was trying to help you be a better wife to my son. Your son who hasn't worked a full-time job in 3 years? That son, tell me, Beverly, when was the last time you criticized Jerome for not providing for his family? Or Marcus for living in the basement at 25? Or Destiny for her entitlement? She sputtered. That's different. It's only different because you expect more from me than you expect from them. Well, guess what? I'm done meeting expectations that nobody else has to meet. I'm done being perfect while everyone else gets to be mediocre. You're destroying this family. No, Beverly, I'm just not holding it together anymore. And you're all discovering that without me, it falls apart. That's not my fault. That's yours for taking me for granted. I got in my car and drove away, leaving her standing there. But Beverly wasn't done. None of them were. That night, I got a call from my brother, Lawrence. We weren't super close, but we talked every few months. Sis, what's going on? Beverly called Mama crying, and now Mama's calling me worried about you. My mother, they'd gotten to my mother. Lawrence, did Mama call you herself, or did Beverly call her first? Pause. Beverly called her, said you'd abandoned your family and weren't acting right. That you'd changed and needed an intervention. And what did Mama say? She's worried, wants to talk to you. Shanice, what's really going on? I told him everything, and unlike everyone else, Lawrence listened. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment, then, so let me get this straight. You paid for everything, they told you that you gave them nothing, and now they're mad you stopped paying for everything? That's the short version, yes. And they want Mama to guilt you into coming back. Seems like it. Lawrence laughed, not a happy laugh, an angry one. Nah, sis. I'm about to call Mama right now and tell her the truth. Beverly got some nerve trying to manipulate our mother into fighting her battles. Lawrence, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're my sister, and from what you're telling me, you did everything right. More than right, you were a saint, and they treated you like hired help. He paused. I'm proud of you, Shanice, for real. Takes strength to walk away from people who don't see your worth. I cried after we hung up, good tears this time. The next day, Mama called me herself. Baby girl, your brother told me everything. Why didn't you tell me what was happening? Because I knew you'd worry, Mama. I'm your mother. Worrying is my job, but so is supporting you. And I can't do that if I don't know what's going on. Now Beverly had the nerve to call me, talking about how you're being selfish and abandoning your family. I let her talk. Then I told her if my daughter left, there was a good reason, and maybe she should ask her son why he couldn't keep his wife happy. I laughed through tears. You didn't. I absolutely did. Then I told her not to call my house spreading lies about my child again. Shanice, baby, you did the right thing, you hear me? Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Thanks, Mama. Now when are you coming to visit me? I want to see this new apartment and make sure you're eating right. Mama visited the following weekend, brought me groceries, helped me organize my kitchen, and told me stories about her own mama, my grandmother, who'd left an abusive marriage in the 1960s when nobody left marriages, especially not Black women with 5 kids. She was the strongest woman I ever knew, Mama said, and you got her blood in you. Don't you forget that. 3 months in, and I was building a real life, a life that was mine. I'd made friends at church. I'd started attending Vanessa's monthly dinner parties. I'd even joined a book club with Lorraine and some other women. I was happy, actually, genuinely happy, and that's when everything exploded. Jerome filed a lawsuit, not for divorce, no, that would have been too simple. He filed a lawsuit claiming I'd stolen marital assets and demanding I pay back everything I'd taken when I left. Michelle called me into her office, papers spread across her desk. Okay, so your husband has officially lost his mind, she said. He's claiming you took $50,000 in marital funds when you left, and that you're hiding assets. I took my own money from my own account, and I didn't even take that much. I know, which is why this lawsuit is going to blow up in his face spectacularly. But Shanice, we need to go through everything. Every payment you made, every contribution, everything. Because when we go to court, I'm going to show the judge exactly who was supporting whom. We spent 2 weeks compiling evidence, bank statements going back 15 years, payment records, screenshots of text messages, emails, everything. And the picture that emerged was damning, not for me, for them. I'd contributed over $400,000 to that household over the years. Jerome had contributed less than $100,000. The house, the cars, the kids' education, everything, mostly me. Michelle smiled when she saw the final tally. Oh, they're going to regret this lawsuit. They're going to regret it so much. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, the harassment escalated. Keisha started a campaign on social media about family loyalty and forgiveness, never mentioning me by name, but obviously about me. Distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years were calling to tell me I was wrong. Jerome's friends were leaving nasty comments on my Facebook until I shut it down entirely. But I also had support. My church family rallied around me. Pastor James preached a sermon about toxic forgiveness and how sometimes love means boundaries. Tamika started a group chat with me, Lorraine, Vanessa, and Denise. They called it Team Shanice and sent encouraging messages every day. Lawrence called weekly to check on me. Mama called daily. I wasn't alone anymore, and that made all the difference. 2 weeks before the court date, Destiny showed up at my apartment again. This time, she looked different, hair done, dressed professionally, eyes clear. Mom, I know you said not to come back unless I was ready for a real conversation. I'm ready. I let her in this time. We sat across from each other in my living room. She didn't cry, didn't make excuses, just talked. I've been in therapy, started going right after you closed the door on me that night. And Mom, I've realized so much about how entitled I was, How I treated you like a bank instead of a person. How I never appreciated anything because I never had to work for anything. She took a breath. I got a job, full-time, at a marketing firm. I'm paying my own rent now. Brandon and I postponed the wedding. We're going to save up and pay for it ourselves. And I'm going back to school part-time, but I'm paying for it with loans and scholarships. I felt something crack in my chest. Destiny. Let me finish, please. I'm not here to ask you for anything. I'm here to tell you I'm sorry, really sorry. Not because I want something, but because I was wrong. You were never worthless. You were everything, and I took that for granted. And I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure I never treat anyone like that again. We both cried then, real tears, healing tears. I'm proud of you, I whispered, so proud. Can we start over? Build something real? I'd like that, but slowly, with boundaries. I understand, whatever you need. She left an hour later, and for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt hope. But not everyone was having a change of heart. The day before court, Jerome called from another number I didn't have blocked. Shanice, don't do this. Drop the separation, come home, and we can forget this lawsuit ever happened. No. You're going to regret this. My lawyer says we can prove you abandoned the marriage. Prove you're being vindictive. You'll lose everything. See you in court, Jerome. This is your last chance. Good. I hung up. Michelle picked me up the next morning. You ready? I looked at myself in the mirror. Professional dress, hair done, head held high. I'm ready. We walked into that courthouse, and I saw them all. Jerome, looking nervous in an ill-fitting suit. Marcus, uncomfortable and avoiding my eyes. Keisha, glaring at me like I was the devil. Beverly, clutching her purse like I might steal it. And then the hearing started, and Michelle went to work. She presented every bank statement, every payment, every contribution I'd made. She showed my consistent income versus Jerome's sporadic employment. She had me explain, calmly and clearly, what happened the day I left. Jerome's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive. Michelle destroyed that narrative in minutes. Your Honor, Mrs. Coleman didn't take marital assets. She stopped providing her personal income to support fully grown adults who verbally abused her. There's a significant difference. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman in her 60s, looked at Jerome over her glasses. Mr. Coleman, you're claiming your wife stole from you? Yes, Your Honor. But according to these records, she earned this money? Well, yes, but it was for the family that told her she'd never given them anything. Jerome's face went pale. Case dismissed. Mr. Coleman, if you want a divorce, file for one properly. But this lawsuit is frivolous and borders on harassment. Mrs. Coleman, you're free to go. And might I add, she looked directly at me, good for you. I walked out of that courthouse with my head high, Michelle laughing beside me. But as we reached the parking lot, I heard someone running behind us. Mom, wait! It was Marcus, and he was crying. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You were right about everything. I've been a terrible son. I let you down. I let destiny treat you like garbage, and I said nothing. I let Dad take advantage of you, and I said nothing. I lived off you for years, and never once said thank you. And I'm ashamed. I'm so ashamed. He was sobbing now, and despite everything, he was still my baby boy. Marcus, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. Please, please give me a chance to do better. To be better. I got a second job. I'm moving out of the basement. I'm paying my own bills. I'm growing up, finally, like I should have done years ago. Just, please don't give up on me completely. I looked at Michelle. She nodded slightly, then walked to her car to give us privacy. I turned back to Marcus. This is going to take time, and real change. I know, but I'm willing to try, if you're really willing to do the work. He hugged me then, held me tight like he used to when he was little. I love you, Mom, and I'm sorry I forgot to show it. I love you too, baby. As I drove home that day, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, genuine peace. But in my rearview mirror, I saw Jerome standing in the courthouse parking lot, his face twisted in rage. And I knew this wasn't over, not even close. Jerome's rage manifested 3 days later when he showed up at my apartment at midnight, drunk and banging on my door. Shanice, open this door. We need to talk. I called the police immediately. Didn't even try to reason with him. By the time they arrived, he was sitting on my doorstep crying, a bottle of whiskey next to him. The officers asked if I wanted to press charges. Just make him leave, I said, and document this in case I need a restraining order. They did both. The next morning, Michelle called. I heard about last night. We're filing for full divorce and requesting a restraining order. He's escalating, Shanice. We need to protect you legally. The restraining order was granted within 48 hours. Jerome was required to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, and my workplace. He violated it within a week. He showed up at my job again, trying to get past security. Mr. Morrison called the police himself. Jerome was arrested, spent a night in jail, and got slapped with a contempt charge. Your husband is determined to destroy himself, Michelle told me, and honestly, let him. Every time he violates that order, it makes our divorce case stronger. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Jerome fought everything. He wanted half my retirement, half my savings, spousal support, and half the value of my new apartment, which made no sense since he had nothing to do with it. His lawyer was a slick-talking brother named Vernon, who specialized in taking angry husbands' money while feeding their delusions. Michelle was not impressed. The day of the divorce hearing, the courtroom was packed. Jerome brought witnesses, Keisha, Beverly, some of his unemployed friends. They were ready to testify about what a terrible wife I'd been. Michelle brought receipts, literally. She presented 15 years of financial records showing my contributions versus Jerome's. She showed text messages where he demanded money, emails where he berated me for not giving enough, screenshots of the family group chat where they all trashed me after I left. Then she called her witnesses. Mr. Morrison testified about Jerome harassing me at work. Pastor James testified about my character and involvement in the church. Tamika testified about conversations where I'd broken down crying about being taken for granted. And then Michelle called Destiny. My daughter walked to the stand in a professional suit, her head held high. Jerome's lawyer objected. She was their daughter. This was a conflict of interest. The judge allowed it. Ms. Coleman, Michelle began, can you describe what happened the day your mother left? Destiny took a breath. I yelled at her, told her she never gave our family anything, told her to leave if she had any pride left. And she did. Was what you said true? No, ma'am. It was a lie. A horrible lie. My mother paid for my entire college education. My car, my apartment, my credit cards, my grad school tuition. She paid for everything for all of us, and I was so entitled that I couldn't see it. I treated her like she owed me, like her sacrifices meant nothing. And what did your father do when you said these things? Destiny's voice cracked. He agreed with me. He sat there and nodded while I tore my mother apart. He never defended her, never told me I was wrong. He just agreed. Objection! Vernon jumped up. This is hearsay and irrelevant to the financial— Overruled, the judge said sharply. I want to hear this. Continue, Ms. Coleman. Destiny looked at Jerome, then at me. My father hasn't worked a real job in 3 years. He's been living off my mother's income while treating her like she was lucky to have him. And when she finally left, he didn't apologize. He didn't try to fix what he broke. He just got angry that his bank account left. Jerome stood up. You're lying. I supported this family. Mr. Coleman, sit down or I'll hold you in contempt. The judge's voice boomed through the courtroom. Michelle smiled. No further questions, Your Honor. Vernon tried to cross-examine Destiny, tried to make her sound like an ungrateful child trying to help her mother, but Destiny held firm. My mother deserves better than what we gave her, better than what my father gave her, and if testifying here helps her get free, then I'm glad to do it. Then Michelle called Marcus. My son was nervous, but he told the truth. About living rent-free in the basement, about me paying his loans, about never once contributing to household expenses, about watching his father treat me like hired help. My dad told us Mom was being dramatic when she left, Marcus testified, that she'd come back once she calmed down. He never once considered that maybe we were the problem, that maybe we needed to change. By the time Michelle rested her case, Jerome looked like he wanted to disappear. Vernon put Jerome on the stand. Big mistake. Mr. Coleman, Michelle began her cross-examination. How many jobs have you had in the past 3 years? That's not relevant. Answer the question, Mr. Coleman. I've been between opportunities. How many jobs? None. But I was looking. Were you? Can you provide any evidence of job applications, interviews, any attempt to contribute financially to the household? Silence. Mr. Coleman, you're requesting spousal support from a woman who supported you for 30 years. On what grounds? She's my wife. She owes me. She owes you? Michelle's voice was ice. Please explain what she owes you for 30 years of financial support, emotional labor, and raising your children, while you and I, quote from your own Facebook posts, enjoyed the golf life. The courtroom went silent. Vernon tried to recover, but the damage was done. The judge took a 30-minute recess, then returned with her decision. I've reviewed the evidence and heard the testimony. This is one of the clearest cases of financial disparity and emotional manipulation I've seen in my 20 years on the bench. Mrs. Coleman contributed significantly more to this marriage financially, emotionally, and practically. Mr. Coleman's behavior, both during the marriage and after the separation, has been reprehensible. She looked directly at Jerome. Mr. Coleman, you should be ashamed of yourself. You lived off your wife's hard work for years, allowed your children to disrespect her, And when she finally left, you harassed her, violated a restraining order, and filed a frivolous lawsuit. You're lucky she's only asking for a divorce and not suing you for back support. Jerome's face turned purple. The divorce is granted. Mrs. Coleman retains all assets she brought into the marriage, and all assets she accumulated through her own income. Mr. Coleman's request for spousal support is denied. Mr. Coleman will receive exactly what he contributed, which according to these records is approximately 30% of the marital home's equity. Mrs. Coleman, you're free. And might I add, as a woman, as a mother, and as someone who understands family dynamics, you showed remarkable restraint. Many women would have left much sooner. The gavel came down. I was free. Walking out of that courthouse, Michelle hugged me tight. You did it. You're officially done with him. I can't believe it's over. Honey, it's not just over. You won, completely. Behind us, I heard Beverly screaming at Jerome in the parking lot. You told me she stole from us. You told me she was the problem. You lied to me. Keisha stood nearby, looking shell-shocked. Our eyes met across the parking lot. She looked away first. Destiny and Marcus were waiting by my car. Mom, Destiny said, we wanted to take you to dinner, celebrate, if you want. I'd like that, I said softly. I'd like that very much. We went to a nice black-owned restaurant downtown. Over catfish and collard greens, we talked, really talked, about the past, about their childhoods, about where things went wrong. I think we all forgot you were a person, Marcus said. You were just Mom, the one who fixed everything, and we took that for granted. Way for granted, Destiny added. I keep thinking about all the times you must have been tired, stressed, struggling, and none of us asked if you were okay. We just kept demanding more. You were kids for most of it, I said gently. We were kids, but we're adults now, and we still acted like kids. That's on us. Destiny reached across the table and took my hand. I'm proud of you, Mama, for leaving, for standing up for yourself, for showing me what self-respect looks like. Me too, Marcus said, and I'm proud to be your son, even though I didn't act like it for a long time. We cried together at that table, good tears, healing tears, but the healing wasn't over. There were still wounds to address. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail from Beverly. It wasn't an apology, it was an explanation about how she'd raised Jerome to believe men were supposed to be provided for, how she'd always covered for him, how she realized too late that she'd created a man who couldn't stand on his own. I blamed you because it was easier than admitting I failed as a mother, she wrote. But watching that trial, hearing what you went through, I can't hide from it anymore. I'm sorry for how I treated you. You deserved better from all of us. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Keisha never apologized. Last I heard, she was still telling people I'd torn the family apart. Some people never see their own faults. That's their burden to carry, not mine. 6 months after the divorce, I got a promotion at work, senior accountant with a 20% raise. Mr. Morrison called me into his office with the biggest smile. Shanice, you've been the backbone of this company for years. It's time we recognized that properly. With the extra money, I did something I'd never done before. I went on vacation, a real vacation, to Jamaica. I stayed at a resort, ate good food, danced to reggae music, and didn't think about family drama once. I met people, made friends, laughed until my stomach hurt. On the beach one night, watching the sunset, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Jerome, not at my old life, not at the years I'd lost. I was grateful for the lesson, for the liberation, for learning that I could survive without them, but they couldn't survive without me. I sent a photo to the Team Shanice group chat, me on the beach, drink in hand, biggest smile on my face. Tamika, that's what freedom looks like. Lorraine, living your best life. We love to see it. Vanessa, when you get back, we're throwing you a freedom party. And they did. A whole celebration with all my new friends, my church family, my co-workers. Destiny and Marcus came too, fitting into my new life naturally. Mama was there, prouder than I'd ever seen her. My baby girl, she whispered, hugging me tight. Look at you. Look at what you built. I learned from the best, I told her. A year after I left, my life looked completely different. I'd moved to a bigger apartment, a 2-bedroom so Destiny and Marcus could visit. I'd started a side business helping other people manage their finances. I'd joined the church choir. I was dating, nothing serious, just enjoying getting to know people who valued me. Destiny got married, not the big wedding she'd originally planned, but a beautiful, intimate ceremony that she and Brandon paid for themselves. I walked her down the aisle, and this time there was no resentment. Just pride. Marcus got promoted to supervisor at his construction job, moved into his own place, started dating a sweet girl named Jasmine who treated him right. They'd both grown up. Finally, Jerome, last I heard, had moved back in with Beverly. He'd tried to date but discovered that women his age weren't interested in supporting a man who couldn't support himself. He'd finally gotten a job, part-time at a hardware store. It was a start, I suppose. One Sunday after church, Pastor James pulled me aside. Shanice, I've been watching your journey this past year. Would you be willing to speak to our women's ministry? Share your story. I think a lot of women need to hear that it's okay to walk away from people who don't value them. I agreed. The following month, I stood in front of 50 Black women of all ages and told my story. Not with bitterness, not with anger, just with honesty. I spent 30 years being invisible, I said, being taken for granted, believing that if I just gave more, loved more, sacrificed more, they'd see my worth. But the truth is, people who don't want to see your worth never will, and you can't make them. Women were crying, nodding, saying amen, and that's right. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. But staying would have killed me, maybe not physically, but spiritually, emotionally. I would have disappeared completely, and nobody would have even noticed. After the talk, women lined up to hug me, to share their own stories, to ask for advice. One young woman, couldn't have been more than 25, grabbed my hands. My mama needs to hear this. She's been in the same situation for 30 years. Can I bring her next time you speak? Bring her, I said, and tell her it's never too late to choose herself. That became my mission, speaking to women about boundaries, self-worth, and the courage it takes to walk away from people who don't value you, even when those people are family. 2 years after I left, I ran into Jerome at the grocery store. He looked older, tired. He saw me and froze. Shanice. Jerome. Awkward silence. You look good, he said finally. Happy. I am. I'm glad. You deserved better than what I gave you. It wasn't a full apology, but it was acknowledgement. Growth, maybe. Thank you for saying that. The kids tell me about your speaking events, about how you're helping women. That's good, real good. It's fulfilling. Another pause. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for all of it. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. I looked at this man I'd spent 30 years with, felt nothing but a distant sort of compassion. I forgive you, Jerome, not for you, for me, so I can move forward without carrying that weight. Thank you. We said goodbye, and as I walked away, I realized I meant it. I really had forgiven him, not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. 3 years after I left, I stood in my beautiful new townhouse, a place I'd bought myself with my own money, surrounded by my real family. Not the one I was born into or married into, but the one I'd chosen. Mama, Destiny, Marcus, Jasmine, Dans, Lawrence, Bamum, Tamika, Lorraine, Vanessa, Pastor James, Denise, Bamanis, Robert, and a dozen other people who genuinely loved me. We were celebrating my 60th birthday. Destiny made a toast. To my mother, Mbam, who taught me the most important lesson of my life, that love without respect is just manipulation. That kindness without boundaries is just enabling, and that walking away from toxicity isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. Mom, you're my hero. Marcus stood up next. To the strongest woman I know. You showed me what real strength looks like. Not domination, not aggression, but the courage to say, enough. I'm still learning from you every day. Then Mama stood, tears in her eyes. To my baby girl, who has the same fire that her grandmother had. You broke a cycle, Shanice. You showed your children and your grandchildren, she smiled at Destiny's growing belly, that they don't have to accept less than they deserve. That's a legacy worth more than any inheritance. I looked around the room at all these beautiful black faces, all these people who saw me, valued me, loved me for who I was, not what I could provide. This was freedom. This was peace. This was home. Later that night, after everyone left, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine and thought about that day 3 years ago, when Destiny told me I'd never given the family anything. She'd been wrong, so wrong, but in a way, she'd given me something, the push I needed to finally choose myself. And that gift, painful as it was, had set me free. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Hi, Mrs. Coleman. My name is Patricia. I got your number from the women's ministry. I'm in the same situation you were in. I'm scared to leave, but I'm more scared to stay. Can we talk? I smiled and typed back, yes, let me tell you what freedom feels like. Because that's what I do now. I help women find their courage, their voice, their worth. And every time I see a woman walk away from people who don't value her, every time I see her choose herself, every time I see her build a new life on her own terms, I remember why I left. Not because I was being vindictive, not because I was being selfish, but because I finally understood that you can't pour from an empty cup. And my cup is full now, overflowing, and I'm never letting anyone empty it again. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.